What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with another Destiny 2 video. This one will speak about the NONARY Engram coming to Rite of the Nine starting on July 1st. There's been a lot of conversation about whether Rite of the Nine is worth playing, with us seeing the weapon changes that we're going to get in Edge of Fate. Obviously, that is up to the individual as to whether they want particular weapons, but even if you're not farming for weapons, there are a bunch of cosmetic items we'll be able to get from this soon. And of course there are weeks like this one where we're seeing bonus currency drops for Rite of the Nine as well, so it might be worth stashing up a bit of the Rite of the Nine currency to spend later on in the event with all of the boosts and things coming out. But before we speak about the specifics of the NONARY Engram, Bungie have said starting June 24th, the Emissary will offer a handful of exotics for players to round out their exotic weapon arsenal, and more will be added each week through to the launch of Edge of Fate. So it looks like they won't all be available at once, but we can see Arbalist, Polaris Lance, as well as Graviton Lance, Whisper, Outbreak Perfected, and Worldline Zero will be the featured exotics that they're referring to, and we'll be able to purchase them for 500 NONARY manifolds. So if anybody is catching up and missing those weapons in particular, we'll get this extra opportunity to pick them up. I know the Outbreak and Whisper are craftable weapons, so I'm guessing it will drop the base weapon with the craftable upgrades still available via the exotic missions. Obviously this won't appeal to everyone, but a useful catch-up for anybody missing any of them. For the NONARY Engram, Bungie have said, from July 1st, a new item will be available at the Emissary, and this engram is filled to the brim with hand-picked cosmetic rewards spanning multiple years of D2 content. Some of them are newer, like Hollow Chips, while some are a blast from the past, like Crimson Days. And so from the 1st of July, we'll be able to purchase NONARY Engrams using 350 NONARY manifolds at the Emissary, and there'll be up to 20 during Rite of the Nine. Then on July 8th, players will be awarded one additional NONARY Engram each day. Safe to say it's a mixed bag of rewards that we'll actually be able to get from these, but I figured we'd break down what those items actually are, as it might be useful for some folks who perhaps want to chase any of them down. Again, I'm sure there'll be some folks that say there's no point in doing this, and that particularly applies if you already have all of these items or simply don't care about cosmetics, but if you do happen to want any of these items, then hopefully knowing that they're actually there might be useful. The choice is yours, so we'll start out with weapon ornaments that we'll be able to get. I'll say right now the loot pool is reasonably significant, so this doesn't necessarily mean that it will be easy to get any particular item. First up though, there'll be the Kingmaker ornament for Queenbreaker. This one dropped back in the Black Armory era, and with the amount of cosmetics in the game, it's reasonably rare that any of these particular items actually come up. Another weapon ornament is Patient Zero for the Outbreak Perfected, plus we'll see the Deadman's Revenge ornament for Deadman's Tale during this event. Other weapon-specific ornaments, though, include One Terrible Scream, which is one of the 1000 Voices ornaments, and the Ashen Icon ornament for Ruinous Effigy, which is a weapon I haven't used for a while, actually. You never know, some of these might be getting buffs in Edge of Fate. Of course, I'm saying this before Bungie have announced any particular buffs. Additionally, though, there is the Divinity ornament, Atropos, and then we move into other types of cosmetics. One of them is the Winged Wolf, which of course is the Galahorn-themed skimmer that originally released, wow, it's over a year ago now, isn't it? Outside of this popping up randomly in Eververse or something, there's no other way to obtain it, so some folks might want it. Then moving away from weapons, as Bungie mentioned, some of the Hollow Chips will be in here. I think actually there are only 2 of them in the game, aren't there? There's the Ardent Adoration, as well as the Taking Flight Hollow Chip. The Ardent Adoration one actually lists 3 of them dropping inside of that package, so I'm guessing that will apply to if you get them from Rite of the Nine as well. Heading into other cosmetics though, firstly, there is the Wolven Shell, so that's one of the Witcher-inspired cosmetics. There'll also be the Crimson Shell from Crimson Days back in the day. I almost forget how many years it's been since we actually got these. Given that some folks weren't actually playing the game back then though, I'm sure there'll be a few items that some folks don't have. Additionally, we have the Simulation Shell, which I think was a Curse of Osiris one from back in the day with the Vex theme, which is cool. There'll also be the Drop Pod Shell. Then moving on to ships. Again, there are some which are linked to events, so there's the Soul Piercer exotic ship, which of course was a Solstice of Heroes drop. Also from back in Season of the Forge, the Black Armory era, is Adawan's Lone Wolf. And then we have the Death to Kel's Fallen ship, which is a pretty cool one, as well as the Ariana's Vengeance, which is, I think, a vanilla exotic ship from Destiny 2. Otherwise, another one from the Curse of Osiris era is the Sails of Osiris ship. And then we move on to the Sparrows. So firstly, there is the Roach VGH. Again, that one is linked to the Witcher pack. And then we have the Skitter Scare, or the Spider Sparrow from Festival of the Lost. More Solstice loot though include Era's Grace. And then we get the Tex Mechanica themed Bronco exotic Sparrow as well, which is quite a nice looking one. The final vehicle though is the SK1 multi-band rover. So like I said, a reasonably large loot pool, and that's just looking at the ornaments, ghost shells and ships. One of the components that will certainly dilute this loot pool are things like finishers and transmat effects, and I've literally named this next section as end of video shit. But we have the Fist of Fury finisher initially. There's also the Iron Severance finisher, which is definitely a very cool one with the Rise of Iron theme. And then we have the Golden Age dropkick, as well as all 4 barrels. And then exotic emotes like a Sour Taste, as well as the Commanding Presence, with a nice shout out to Zavala there. But also we have the Dawn of Invitation, Chair Pop. Some of these are very vanilla. There's also the Cowbell multiplayer emote, Spring Showers exotic emote, and the Galloping Knight, which is another multiplayer emote there, with some legendary emotes, including the Heartfelt Union multiplayer emote, the Patty Cake, and Whisper Sweet Nothings. The last couple of items, though, include the Warsat Arrival and the Shield Breaker Transmat effects, which I know do populate Eververse quite frequently, those 2 in particular. But I guess for anyone who really wants any particular items out of here, at least now you know that they will be available from the engram. And if you want to save up the currency up until the 1st of July to get better chances to actually pick any of these up, then I guess you have that heads up too. Failing that, you can just spend them on weapons. So there we go, guys. Breakdown of all of the stuff coming from the Nonary engram. Otherwise, in case you are curious about Ride of the Nine rollout and the rotation here, from June 24th, all dungeons will be available, but one will have increased currency rewards and a chance for weapons to drop on a weekly basis. So June 24th will be Spire of the Watcher, July 1st will be Ghosts, and July 8th will be Prophecy. And when they're featured, again, they'll have increased currency drops and a chance for weapons to drop from enemy kills, plus increased loot from the final boss. Then on June 24th, additionally, the emissary will offer a handful of exotics for players looking to round out their exotic weapon arsenal. I didn't think I'd actually be able to see these, but I can see them now via the database, so those weapons will include Arbalest, Polaris Lance, Graviton Lance, plus there'll be Whisper of the Worm. That's now a craftable weapon, so I'm guessing it will be the base drop of it. Same applies to Outbreak Perfected, so maybe from there we can go and upgrade them if we need the upgrades. But the last weapon will be Worldline Zero, and all of these will cost 500 Nonary Manifolds. So an okay catch up there for players who don't have those weapons. Again though, from July 8th up until the 15th, there will be increased currency rewards and weapon drops from enemies in all dungeons, and bonus loot from the final chest, and what Bungie call even more bonus loot. So that'll be a great farming week if you are still after anything. And so let us know in the comment section your thoughts on those, the new engram, the exotic drops, and the boosts that we'll get for the remainder of Rite of the Nine. If you found the video helpful, a rating really does help us on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you posted with a bunch more Destiny content, especially as we approach Edge of Fate. For now though, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon.